Welcome, everybody, back to another season and episode of the Transgender Plan podcast, your go to podcast for transgender history. As always, I'm your host, Mari, and it is an absolute pleasure to have you all here today. I've been gone for a while, and I know it's been 2 weeks, but I did mention that before I left my last episode in season 4, that I would be kind of gone for a little bit, take a couple weeks off, and today will be the day I release a brand new episode for you all. I do apologize that it is a little bit later in the day than I would like, but I had a very busy morning. With that, I had a very busy couple of weeks too as well in Atlanta, and it's been crazy. I've been out doing business, traveling, visiting friends, family. So it's been very chaotic from the very beginning once I ended that last episode. But I am happy, extremely happy to be back for season 5 of the Transgender Plan podcast. It's crazy that we made it 5 seasons. I know I don't have like long seasons. They're knowing about like 6 to 8 episodes per season, but consistency has been my biggest thing for the year. And this is one of the things that I wanted to stay consistent with. 1, because I love doing it. 2, I love teaching people. And 3, having a goal and actually going through with it. So I'm happy to be back for season 5. And I'm happy to have all of you all listening to today's episode. As I always do, if you are new here, welcome to season 5 of the Transgender Plan podcast. I will go over basically what this podcast is about, because if you are brand new here, you may have never heard but never listened to an episode prior to today. So this may be your first. So I want to kind of go over what the Transgender Plan is, and then we can move forward with that. And of course, as I always do, I like to say hello to my continuous supporters and subscribers. So if you are new here, welcome first to the Transgender Plan podcast. It's your go-to podcast for transgender history. This platform is dedicated to sharing the untold stories of transgender history and experiences. Hosted by me, your host, Mari. Each episode really dives into the rich tapestry of transgender history and weaving together individual narratives and collective experiences of transgender individuals. I myself am a Black transgender man who has been studying transgender history since about the year 2018. I started this podcast because I had to learn about myself and learn about our history as someone who identifies as trans all alone, because obviously, as you know, today it's very hard. Yes, we do have some universities who have an expanded curriculum to allow LGBTQ plus courses, but it's still hard for some people to be able to get in those courses or attend university, even go, etc. So I provide this free podcast to allow anyone, whether you're someone who identifies, you don't, whether you're in the community or you're not, an ally, etc., to just learn more about our history and who we are, and the fact that we are not new to society. We've been around for a very, very, very long time. So this podcast aims to, inspire, promote inclusivity, spark conversations, but also, like I said, give insights on our history and even some of the issues that we would face back in the day as well. So that's a little bit of the spiel of what this podcast is about and what the Transgender Plan's overall mission statement is. So welcome after this episode. Once you listen to it, please subscribe, tell a friend, a family member, or someone else you know, and also check out the previous episodes as well. To all of my returnees, I just thank you so much for continuing to support this podcast every single week. Without you, this job would not be fun. You all make it fun. I love the feedback that I get from you all as it relates to this podcast, because At first, I thought I was going to do a terrible job, and I still have some improvements, but I didn't think I would get the feedback regarding this podcast as much as I have. And it's been all good feedback. Of course, some small pointers, but very good feedback. And I just appreciate you all for allowing me to have this space to share with you all and continue on this journey. So thank you so much for your continuous support. With that, before I start getting a little teary, let's get into today's episode. Today, we'll be talking about the fascinating topic, and really all the topics as it relates to the trans lesson plan is fascinating, but the topic of transgenderism in ancient Rome and how it impacted transgender history today. Now, to give a heads up as a disclosure, a disclaimer, the term transgenderism technically didn't exist, obviously, back in the times when ancient Rome was around. So a lot of times, if you do decide to do continuous research as it relates to this, transsexualism may be the terminology that you may see in sources like books or scholarly articles, etc., as it relates to this in history. They're basically the same. They, a little bit different in definition, but basically the same. So if you decide to continue on to do research, you may find the word transsexualism over the word transgenderism as a heads up. So let's get into it. Ancient Rome, a civilization that spanned from 753 BC to 476 AD, was a society known for many things. Obviously, its military might, its grand infrastructure, its poetry, its politics, and surprisingly, its fluid understanding of gender. Now, it's interesting to note that the Romans had a surprisingly intricate view of gender and gender roles. They recognized the existence of individuals who did not fit neatly into the binary categories of male or female, and they even had their own terms to describe them. As we dive deeper really into this concept, we're going to be exploring how the Romans viewed gender and its lasting impact of these views on our understanding of gender today. And imagine a society where the binary understanding of gender as we know it today had blurred lines. The Romans had terms and roles for individuals who did not conform to the traditional male and female categories. They recognized and respected the spectrum of gender identities, a concept that is still being explored and understood in our modern world today. One of these terms was Galli, Galli, and I'm going to start spelling out words in case people want to continue to, like I said, research a little bit later on, which was used to describe priests, the goddess Cybele, who had undergone a ritual of self-castration. Now, the Galli were not considered male or female in the traditional sense, but rather something entirely different. Think of it as a third gender of sorts. Now, to understand the significance of the Galli, we must explore their role in Roman society. Now, the Galli were not merely acknowledged. They were revered as priests of Cybele, a major goddess in the Roman Empire. Now, the Galli lived openly as a third gender, wearing feminine attire, growing their hair long, and adopted female names. And this gender nonconformity was not hidden or shunned, but was instead a recognized part of Roman society. Now, another piece of Roman history as it relates to transgenderism I want to talk about is actually focusing on a particular individual that is very well known as it relates to transgender history within the ancient Roman times. An individual named Megillos, Megillos. Now, Megillos was a Spartan woman mentioned in Plato's dialogues who lived as a man, wore men's clothes, and even had a wife. Now, what's interesting about Megillos is how they were accepted and respected in their society. Ancient Greece, much like Rome, had a more fluid understanding of gender than we might expect. Megillos was able to live openly as a man, challenging the traditional gender norms and expectations of the society. And Megillo's story is really a testament to the long history of gender diversity and nonconformity. It shows us that individuals have been living outside of traditional gender norms for thousands, keyword thousands, of years across different cultures and societies. And the impact of figures like Megillos on transgender history is profound. They offer valuable insights into the diversity and complexity of gender expression throughout history. By understanding Megillo's story, we can better appreciate the rich tapestry of human diversity and resilience of individuals who defy gender norms. However, it's important to note that our understanding of gender and nonconformity in ancient Rome is incomplete, just as a heads up. Now, as a historian and an educator, I always say it's very difficult to find our history. And when we think about ancient Rome, especially at a time so far back, like I said, it's still something that is technically still incomplete. The sources that we have are like piecemeal, often written by those outside of these non-conforming, communities, and colored by their own understanding and biases. And much of the writing that survives is, from a perspective of the Roman elite in a group that was not really a representative of Roman society as a whole. And as much as our view of Roman gender nonconformity is, at best, it's more of a fragmented one. But even these fragments can provide valuable insights really into the rich tapestry, one of those, of human gender expression throughout history. I know the word, but I feel like I'm saying it too many times, so at this point, I don't want to confuse myself even more. And as I mentioned earlier, I do want to clarify again that the term, like I said, transgender, as we understand today, didn't exist in ancient Rome. So, however, the existence of figures like the Galli provides us with evidence of gender nonconformity in Roman society. Now, if you are new here, for each episode that I do, I love to do like some very quick key takeaways of what I went over. Just kind of give like a very quick basis, one liner, two liners, or whatever of what I went through to kind of help you move forward as it relates to the continuous education of this particular topic, or just so that you can kind of say, hey, you maybe talk too much. I just want to get the pointers. So that's basically what this piece is. So key takeaways from today is that ancient Rome had a surprisingly fluid understanding of gender. Like I said, they recognized individuals that really didn't fit within our normal binary categories, and acknowledging that not all people conform to those in the traditional sense. And this here reflects a very significant level of social complexity and acceptance within the Roman society. Also, the Romans had unique terms and roles for individuals who did not conform to the traditional gender categories as well. And they actually acknowledged a spectrum of gender identities, indicating that the concept of diverse gender identities is not a modern invention, but also has historical roots. And this is a significant note as it relates to our modern discussions around gender diversity. As I know, I talked about how, the term transgender didn't come up really until later on in the years, but also, gender nonconformity is not a new concept either, and has been present in many human societies from even 100 years back to 1,000 years back as we speak, just like the case of the Galli in ancient Rome, kind of serving as one example of that. How societies embrace individuals who didn't conform to traditional gender norms. And this challenges, the common misconception that gender diversity, as I mentioned earlier, is a recent phenomenon. I also want to talk about how the impact of figures like Megillos on transgender history is also profound. Megillos offered valuable insights into the diversity and complexity of gender expression early in history, By understanding stories like Majilo's, we can better appreciate the rich tapestry of human diversity as well. And also take down, the common theme here of misconceptions. And then lastly, understanding this history can actually enrich our appreciation of human diversity and underscore the importance of recognizing and respecting all gender identities in our societies today. By looking at historical examples like ancient Rome and any of these other stories that I've talked about within the previous seasons, we can be better. We can better understand, the complexities of gender identity, sexual orientation, and those individuals who lived in these lived experiences that no, technically we can't get their side of the story and learn more about them. But the benefit of libraries, whether it's university or public, or histories do exist. So take the opportunity to listen to them. Very important to hear these stories. So to kind of wrap up with today's episode, what does this mean for today? As I mentioned, it's a powerful reminder that gender nonconformity is not a new concept or a modern invention. It has been a part of human society for thousands of years, and the Romans were no exception. Like I said, understand this history allows us to better appreciate each and every one of us from a diversity standpoint. And it allows us to recognize and respect all gender identities in today's society. It also provides us with a different perspective on the progress and evolution of gender identities and roles. We are not inventing new ways of being, but perhaps we are rediscovering and re-embracing the complexity of gender that has been a part of human society for thousands of years. Take note on that. So with that, I hope that this exploration of transgender history in ancient Rome has provided you with a fresh perspective on the long history of gender diversity and is a testament to the resilience and complexity of the human nature. So with that, that is the end of our episode. And I probably should have mentioned this earlier, and I'm so sorry. In my introduction of what the Transgender plan is, none of my episodes are normally longer than 15, 20 minutes because I want to keep it short, sweet, and simple. And I also want you all to continue to do your own research. I want to give you all kind of like a base layer, and you continue to learn as you please. So that is it with today's episode. I want to thank you all so much for continuing to listen to the podcast. Thank you all for listening to the start of season 5 today. If you have not done so already, please go ahead, like, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on right now. If you have not already, tell a friend, family member. Please share on social media if you can, LinkedIn, whatever works best for you. I will have, of course, another episode next week, which will air. And if you have not already signed up for our newsletter too, where you can get more insights on the Transgender plan as it relates to transgender history, experiences, etc., resources. I have everything in that newsletter. So if you haven't already, that is also linked in the description. You can follow me on social media at the Transgender plan. Also put that in the link in the bio. And if you want to follow me, the host, you can follow me at mariiiwrld. That's MAR3ISWRLD. So with that, I thank you all so much for coming out today. Happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone. I'm going to go grab me a margarita before I go to the gym, which probably doesn't make any sense, but bear with me. But happy May. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day and week. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.